Well, down here on this left-hand side, we've already applied the colored layer. The clear glass on the surface magnifies it, makes it look like the whole piece is that color, but in reality, it's just a very thin layer. Again, that clear glass on the surface, just magnifying it. Although that color, its true color will be coming back. Right now it is still a little bit darker. When we heat it up, it's gonna look red and orange. That is just the heat you will see distorting its true color. But its true color will come back. We've already created a constriction, a small little waste point. That will be the break-off point to our piece later on. Down here we have our glass furnace. Now this is where all our hot molten material is kept. You can think of the furnace as a hot bowl of soup. We dip the rod inside with the glass piece, we turn, and just like that, the glass sticks to our material. We hold the rod down to get rid of excess material, but also to be left with this beautiful, evenly shaped material. Now the rods that we use here are made out of stainless steel, which is a poor conductor of heat. Although these rods are specifically made for us, again, made out of that stainless steel, they still take a toll. Down here, we are using a pipe cooler, which is just some cold water that we run on the surface of the rod, and in turn, it cools down that rod, making it easier for us to handle. Notice that the shininess begins to leave the rod, especially towards the tip of the material. It goes from stainless steel to eventually that dull black. That deteriorated part, that's what the glass, that's what that heat does to the material. This chamber that we enter is approximately 2,300 degrees, making it slightly hotter than our furnace. The longer time we stay inside this oven, the hotter that material gets. Although we do use a wooden block pretty much after every gather to ensure our bubble will blow out evenly. We are now going to be entering our mold that we have down here. We are now getting that molten material nice and hot. Notice how much it's moving to stay on that rod. Well, our piece is now cooling down. If we leave it out here, however, it will get too cold too quickly. We will enter into our annealing oven we have on our right-hand side, the oven with the green number 4, it's the cool down oven. A little tap on the piece breaks it free and on its way to cool down. And on we start to the next piece. Now, if you weren't here for the coloring application process, it's totally fine. We're gonna go ahead and start that process down here on the left-hand side. I start off by discussing a little bit about color and how we make color and where this material comes from. These colors almost look identical, but they're not. Anyways, going back to our color, to make our color, we add metal oxides from the periodic table. All that means is we add metal elements that give us color. So by adding cobalt, we can create blue glass. Chromium can give us green glass, manganese, purple, black glass. We even use uranium in glass. It gives us a glow-in-the-dark green material. Reds and pink glass tend to be some of the more expensive color in the glass industry because they do add gold to that clear glass to make it that lovely red and pink material. Now that we know a little bit about color and how color works, our bar needs to be preheated before we use it. We just can't grab our bar and then expect to gather glass and stick it on. It's just gonna drop to the ground. I've tried it before, all right? It doesn't work. So we need to preheat up our bar to about 900 to 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. Once this bar is nice and warm, we will then stab it up. How we see down here, Zoe has already picked up that solid color bar on one end. Her job is to make that color bar a little bit short. We start off, we do cut up a lot of bar, but we will shape that down now. At that same time that we are shaping down our solid color bar, Sarah down here has gathered glass on a new blowpipe. This will be the beginning of the next piece. All around the hot shop, we have these steel tables used for shaping. They're called marbers. Traditionally, back in the olden day, these tables were made out of a solid slab of marble, and that's where we get that name from. Now, however, it's been swapped with the steel table for a couple different reasons. One reason is that marble is expensive, but it can also crack under enormous temperature. If you drop hot molten material right on top of a marble, it can actually crack a slab. We now usually use these, but chances are you might find a hot shop that still has that solid slab of marble. So here we go with the solid color. Zoe will bring over that material. We will now place it right on top of that bubble. Note, this is why we call it a color drop, because it drops just like a water droplet. Sarah's using a pair of shears to cut that color right on top of the bubble. The next job that we will take is to push that color nice and evenly around our whole bubble to coat the entirety of it. It's very important that it goes on evenly. If you don't place it on evenly, we will have different color densities, which is not ideal. Up on our top screen, we're seeing a little diagram, a little cross-cut section of glass. I'm gonna let you know, any glass that's in your home that you might think it's a solid color, it's a lie. I'm sorry to tell you, but it is a lie. It's in fact just a thin layer of color sandwiched in between layers of clear. And again, the clear glass has a property of magnification, which will make the whole piece look that solid color, but in reality, it is not. So any glass that you have in your home that's a solid color, and you might have thought this whole time that it was that solid color, in reality, it is not. Just to clarify that, chances are that it's not, but there is some glass that might be that solid color, but usually you can tell by just looking at the very top of it, or the lip of the piece. Well, down here on this left-hand side, we've gathered another layer of molten material. Just like last time, we use a wooden block made out of fruit wood, and we love burning fruit wood here in the hot shop because they contain more moisture and they last longer. So this wood just lasts a little bit longer than your traditional average wood. We also use a wet pad of newspaper to control the molten material. Hello and welcome to the Museum of Glass. The newspaper we use here, there is nothing special about it. Although the preferred one to burn here at the Museum of Glass is the Wall Street Journal. Any old newspaper will do. Now, look at all this teamwork that is going on down here. Zoe is taking a seat down on this opposite end, and no, she is not taking a break. She's not getting ready for her lunch break. She's actually standing by to prepare to blow through the blowpipe. If you're wondering how much air do we blow through that rod, we blow about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. So it's not a lot of air, but it does vary. Right now we are creating a constriction or a waste point. This will be the break-off point to this piece later on. We then go back with the newspapers and continue to blow air to control how much it expands out, but also where it expands out from. By squeezing down both blades on the jacks, we create the constriction. Again, that will be that break-off point that we use later on. We are now going to let that core cool down. We're gonna enter back to our furnace for another layer, but to make it a little bit easier, we let that core cool down and stabilize. Down here we have our glass furnace. If you're just joining us now, it's a great time. I'll introduce this glass furnace. When I open this door, it looks red and orange. It's really difficult to understand what's going on inside. So to make it easier, we do have a diagram on our top screen. There you can see behind this door lies a ceramic pot that's at 2,100 degrees, and that's about the same temperature as molten lava. That's how hot that material is. That furnace is always on it. It's never turned off. It doesn't even take holiday breaks. Now, if this is your first time coming into the Museum of Glass, just to let you know on what we do here, we're pretty much Disneyland for artists. Artists apply to come to this museum, and then we pick a couple different winners. They get to stay out here for up to 5 days here at the Museum of Glass. With those 5 days, we have the Museum of Glass professional team. They can do whatever they want for those 5 days. Our visiting artist, Liss LaFleur, down here with the black shirt. She's our visiting artist. She has come with this idea with these molds that we will fill with glass. Now, she's been working with parts similar to this for about 1 year using Jello as our medium. Now, we're gonna bring that into the glass world by making them out of glass. Down here, we have our mold. We just took another dip of fresh molten material down here. And again, just like last time, we start off by using a wooden block. And again, if we have any questions about our visiting artist, because our visiting artist, the person down here with all the ideas of what will be created throughout the week, you can join us later on this week as we continue to make different parts and different pieces. Now, everything that you see on our top screen down here, or up here, is a live stream through the World Wide Web. So if you can't join us tomorrow here, you can go to YouTube or our website, just type in Tacoma Museum of Glass, or the first thing to pop up, and you can join us here as we live stream in 720p. On contact, we're not burning that wood, rather a layer of steam is created, and that is what we ride on. Now, when we blow air through the blowpipe, as Zoe is right now, it always wants to take the path of least resistance, which means it always wants to blow out where it's hottest. And look at this gorgeous piece. Again, all that excess glass that you see, that overblow, we will get rid of that later on. It will be cut off. In the very back of the museum, we have a cold shop where we use different wheels and polishing wheels to get rid of any glass we don't want. For this, we're gonna get rid of that overblow, which is that part that's not part of the piece. The next step that we will take is to set our piece into the annealer. The annealer is sitting on your right-hand side with the green number 4, and it is currently sitting at 920 degrees Fahrenheit. This piece will have to slowly be brought back down to room temperature. If we leave it out here, it will get too cold too fast. It can break, crack, and even explode. To prevent the piece from breaking, we will set it in this oven, and for 24 hours, it will slowly cool down. A little tap on the rod and it breaks. We are just sealing the very tip with a oxypropane torch. By squeezing down both blades, we create a constriction in the material that will be the break-off section later on in the process. Now, Zoe's blowing through the blowpipe now, and if you're wondering how much air we blow through that rod, again, we blow about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. All right, well, we have Ben down here, our gaffer for the day. The gaffer is the person in charge, really in charge of performing the dance with fire. We are performing the rod that we use here is made specifically for offhand glass making. Even the material we use is specifically formulated for us to stay at a malleable state longer. These rods, although they're custom made for us, they do build up heat. Here you can see us use a pipe cooler. It is just some cold water we run on that surface of the rod and in turn cools it down. Just makes it easier for our hand to get closer to the material. We will use our left hand as a fulcrum to counteract the weight of the material. Well, down here, everyone has a different role that we are playing. Down here, we have Gabe. He's our professional fire dancer that we have here at the museum. He has these two wooden paddles to ensure that the piece is nice and flat on the top. We are going to get rid of the overblow glass that we have In the very back of the museum here, we have a cold shop where we can grind away, cut away, and polish glass. As we concentrate on heating up the piece on our top screen, we're gonna get a video of our mold that we have down here, just to show you what's inside of here. Now, we did line the mold with some graphite that will release our piece when it's completely blown up inside. But again, there you can begin to see some of the texture in the material that we will have after we exit. Now that our piece is complete, it's exited that mold, we do clean off that very surface, but the next step we will take is to set it into the annealer that's sitting on your right-hand side with the green number 4. Again, we are gonna put this piece away, but there is still so much work to be left after. The very bottom of the piece, we will get rid of that in the cold shop. With that little tap, it breaks free, and we are done with this piece for right now. And on its way to the annealer so it can slowly cool down. All right, can we give our team a round of applause, and of course our visiting artist, Liss LaFleur, down here. Now, we do want to thank you for joining us in our morning live glass making demonstration. We will be stepping aside and taking lunch. If you want to grab a lunch of your own or a coffee, we will be back in 1 hour. If you want to continue the fun with us, again, our visiting artist is Liz down here with the camera walking around. We will be having a conversation with the artist this Sunday at 2 p.m. If you want to join us, we'll talk a little bit about what we did throughout the residency and what the future holds. So again, if we have any questions, right now is a really good time. If not, we will break off to lunch.
the delineation of the Jell-O. So today we're starting with